Unwanted Visitors, a stuffed wombat production.
This is the Shirehampton Stuffed Wombat Society with their performance of Unwanted Visitors. Our story starts in a large, beautifully appointed suburban sitting room. A grand piano, almost lost at one end, serves as a yardstick to the true scale of the room. Rather more incongruous are several whiteboards covered with diagrams, technical drawings, and incomprehensible mathematics. It would appear that Miss Lovelace is working on a new and highly complex project.
So, Mr. Hervel van Vrugde. Oh, I do hope I haven't mispronounced your name.
Please, Miss Lovelace, call me Jan. It'll be far simpler and more concise.
If you insist. As I was saying, Jan, I've invited you here to assist me with my latest project. Your expertise in computational physics would be of tremendous benefit to me.
I'm only too happy to oblige in any way I can. But I don't think you divulged the nature of the project in your communications.
Oh dear, what a dreadful omission. Well, to put it succinctly, I'm attempting to construct a squirrel deterrent device. Or more precisely, a deterrent for Cyril the squirrel.
Sorry, did I hear you correctly? A squirrel deterrent device?
Exactly.
I may be missing something, but wouldn't a simple water pistol be sufficient?
Sadly not. Cyril's a devious little blighter. He's learnt to retreat until my water pistol has disgorged its reservoir of water, after which he advances to nick all the bird food. It doesn't matter how many times I refill my water pistol, he's simply too crafty.
So how are you planning to keep him at bay?
An automated, radar-activated, focused graviton pulse.
Crikey Moses! How do you envisage this device working?
As you know, gravitons mediate gravitational waves, which, in turn, cause ripples in the fabric of space-time. To be more precise, these ripples expand and contract any region of space they pass through. The ripples, generated by my device, would effectively disorientate Cyril, making it impossible for him to chart a path to the bird feeder.
Wouldn't an automated pea shooter or a small electric fence be far simpler?
But where's the technical challenge in that? Besides, I do not wish to harm one of God's creatures, merely dissuade him from eating food that is not meant for him.
Fair enough. Would it be right in thinking that you already have a prototype, given the drawings and calculations laid out on these whiteboards?
How observant! Indeed I do, but unfortunately, something isn't quite right. Would you be so kind as to follow me into the garden so that I can demonstrate the problem?
We'll return to Miss Lovelace and Mr. Hervel van Vrugde later, but for now, our story turns to the basement flat of one Timothy Mugg.
Major General Timothy Mugg speaking.
Mugg, you've got to get over here quickly. It's huge.
Calm down, old boy. What's huge?
I can't explain. You'll have to see this for yourself.
Righto. I'll be over in about 20 minutes. Goodbye. This better not be a wind-up.
Ah, Mugg. Come in.
Thanks. So what is it that you wanted to show me so urgently?
Ah, well, you see...
What?
It's gone. Sort of disappeared.
Right. So what would I have seen if it hadn't disappeared?
How do I put this?
Spit it out, man.
Pterodactyl.
What?
Well, a pterodactyl is the best description I can come up with. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping my morning cuppa, admiring the flowers in my garden, when everything wobbled.
Wobbled?
Yes, went all weird and wobbly. Then suddenly this pterodactyl was hovering above my flower bed.
And what precisely did this pterodactyl do?
How should I know? It didn't look particularly friendly, as you might imagine. I ran out of the kitchen pretty sharpish and rang you. Of Of course, when I got back, it had disappeared, probably flown off.
That seems unlikely. I didn't note any signs of general alarm and panic in the neighbourhood. No corpses of cats or dogs or people littering the streets.
Look, are you trying to suggest I'm making this up?
No, but maybe you had a sort of power nap micro-dream. Why don't we go outside? If everything looks normal, that should convince you that it was all in your imagination.
OK, old boy, but if you don't mind, I'll just arm myself with this carving knife. I suggest you take that rolling pin.
If you insist. Come on, then.
As Mugg and Zung head out into the garden, let's turn our attention back to the terrace area of Miss Lovelace's spacious garden. Miss Lovelace and Mr. Heuvel van Vreugde are standing next to a device that, to the casual observer, might be described as looking like a death ray. The pair are deep in conversation.
So, as you saw, my test target...
You mean the tennis ball suspended from the washing line?
Quite so. I would have expected to have been, to use a Scottish word, shoogled, when we fired the graviton beam.
Shuggled?
Jiggled around, backwards and forwards, up and down. However, we didn't observe any movement whatsoever.
How tight is the beam confinement?
It should be focused down to the dimensions of the tennis ball.
Perhaps the beam alignment is slightly out.
Let me check. Ah, you're right. It needs to be a couple more millimetres to the left. Let me adjust it. There. Shall we try again?
Ready when you are, Miss Lovelace.
For listeners who are actually following this story, you can probably guess what happens next. What? You can't? Fair enough. Let's go back to Zung's back garden and watch the havoc that Miss Lovelace is about to unleash play out. This is where the pterodactyl thingy was.
So, clearly there's no pterodactyl here. But wait. Look at these flattened flowers and the slight depression on the lawn. Something heavy set itself down here. Where it went after that is... Oof! Ah! Oh! What's happening?
Where am I? Mugg? Mugg, where are you?
Over here.
Where? I can't see you.
Under the, beanstalks to your right. It pains me to say this, but I think we're in a jungle of some sort. Unless, of course, I'm dreaming or hallucinating.
I'm glad you said that, because that's where I am too. Hang on, I'll come over to you if I can find my way round these boulders.
I've never seen geological features like this before. These boulders look like bits of earth when you look at them under a microscope.
So they do. How strange.
What was that?
No idea. It sounded like it was coming from behind us.
Oh, my word. Do you see what I see?
If you're seeing something large, black, with huge mandibles, then yes. What do we do?
Hope it's over quickly and as painlessly as possible. Somehow I doubt hitting the equivalent of an armour-plated tank with a rolling pin is going to make any difference.
I was afraid of... Ouch!
Whoa! Oof! You'll have to excuse my lack of concern for your expression of pain, but I seem to be lying face down on your lawn.
Don't worry, I'm lying face up.
Where did that armoured monster disappear to?
Who bloody cares? I'm just glad we're out of that jungle. Those beanstalks did look awfully familiar, though.
I need a good strong cup of tea to fortify me after that experience.
Sod the tea. I'm opting for a stiff brandy, or several. Smarter listeners will now have noticed a potential causal link between the experiments in Miss Lovelace's garden and the bizarre occurrences chez Zung. For them, the only mystery that remains is how this little story is going to end. For everyone else, perhaps it's time to return to Miss Lovelace's terrace to see whether their latest trial was a success.
Did the Doppler interferometer register any motion in the tennis ball?
Sadly, the results are inconclusive. The anemometer showed a slight increase in wind speed at the precise moment that we activated the device.
Perhaps increasing the power output would improve our signal-to-noise ratio.
That would be a reasonable plan of action. Let me recompute the parameters quickly. Right. Would you like me to reconfigure the beam?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Done. Ah, look. Is that Cyril in the bushes behind the target?
Yes, I believe it is. He's probably wondering what's going on and whether I'm putting out more bird food. Well, let this be a warning of what is coming his way. Firing in 3, 2, 1, fire!
Anyone who has ever used a calculator to work out their latest energy bill will know that mistakes are easily made. Who hasn't had a calculator key bounce, turning 9 into 99, or pressed multiply when they meant plus? Errors such as these are not confined to the feeble-minded or criminally inept. They can happen to anyone, and their consequences are often felt far and wide. Mugg and Zung are not alone in feeling the effects of Miss Lovelace's device. Over at Tutinonde Castle, on the Swiss-Liechtenstein border, an argument is brewing over who keeps upsetting the Catan board.
Freckles, s'il vous plaît. Stop knocking the table. It is upsetting the Catan board. I know you don't like to lose, but...
How dare you? It wasn't me. Mamma, have you been kicking the table?
I don't remember.
Do you think it could have been an earthquake?
Peut-être. What?
What's happening?
Where are we?
I don't remember.
I don't think Patrice was asking you, Mamma. It looks like a fancy dress party.
This is the Bognorian Border Force. Put your tentacles up. You have arrived on planet Bognor illegally. You will submit to the border police, whereupon you will be sent to planet Zelzi for processing. Once your identities have been established, you will be entitled to make claims for asylum.
Merde.
Don't you know who we are?
I don't remember.
I wasn't asking you, Mamma. Damn and blast it. And I was just about to beat Patrice at Catan.
It probably won't surprise listeners to learn that Patrice Volaille, Princess Freckles, and Queen Claremont Ratariga aren't the only victims of a sudden transplanetary relocation. Mugg and Zung are similarly disoriented, however, their confusion is as nothing compared to that of one terrified squirrel, who is currently engaged in a futile and desperate search for a tree to escape up. Why, you ask, hasn't the border transgression alarm sounded? Maybe that's because Mugg and Zung have been here before. Sadly, they're all too well known on Bognor, but unfortunately for them, they are ignorant of this fact, having had their memory wiped of all previous visits.
Oh, are you sure that brandy wasn't absinthe?
Definitely not. I didn't even start my brandy before everything went wibbly-wobbly. Crikey, who are those two people in fancy dress heading towards us? They must be double-jointed to be able to walk on those fake tentacles.
What is it with you two? Do you actually enjoy having your memories wiped? Or are you desperate to experience a Bognorian jail?
Look, matey, we didn't ask to come here.
I think Judge Fredbear will take a dim view if you adopt that tone with him. His sentences often involve removal of various limbs or body parts. Though, to be fair, Bill, they're often overturned on appeal. Oh, I beg your pardon, my lordship. Are you okay?
Well, apart from being a bit...
Not you, him!
Finally, someone who...
Silence!
Don't you dare call me Cyril!
No, certainly. I'd never dream of calling you Cyril. Is there anything we can get your lordship? Pine nuts? Yes, certainly, sir. Right away, your lordship.
These people are very smelly.
Smelly? Aren't they just?
They're very ugly too.
Yes, I agree. A very ugly pair, and not a bushy tail between them. Nothing like your fine specimen.
Why don't they have fur? Take them away!
Indeed, their lack of fur is very disturbing. I'll have them removed from your sight immediately. Right, you two, come with me. Ben, could you make his lordship comfortable?
It won't be long before Mugg and Zung have the opportunity to reacquaint themselves with Patrice Volaille, Queen Clermont Ratariga and Princess Freckles in the Bracklesham Heights Migrant Reprocessing Centre on planet Selsey. Fortunately for all concerned, Princess Freckles is wide awake and thus not in imminent danger of snoring, which would of course be in contravention of local legal noise limits. Normally this would be cause for celebration, especially if the party knew the peril they were in. However, none present has ever been through the Bognorian migrant processing procedure before, and so are blissfully unaware of the bureaucratic nightmare that awaits them. Let's leave them to stew for a while and return instead to Miss Lovelace's garden terrace.
Have you managed to locate the tennis ball, Jan?
Not yet. And there is no sign of your squirrel either.
Oh dear. Poor Cyril.
Let me check the log files. That's odd.
What is?
The tennis ball. When we fired the device, it seems to have spontaneously exceeded the speed of light and effectively disappeared from this plane of reality.
That is most disturbing.
Indeed.
There's only one thing for it. We need to consult the ultimate authority on string theory and quantum mechanics.
Who do you have in mind?
Professor Fregor of the University of Arundel by the Sea. If he can't solve the problem, no one can.
It will be some 3 weeks before a gap in his lecture tour allows Professor Fregor to visit Miss Lovelace. So, in the meantime, let's see how our illegal migrants are getting on at the Bracklesham Heights Migrant Processing Centre on Selsey.
Mais non. You cannot go there. You are too close to Princess Freckles' settlement.
I think we're wasting our time, Patrice. The Celsian security guards simply don't have the intellectual capacity to learn Settlers of Catan. Why don't we try teaching them exploding kittens instead?
At risk getting your hands chopped off because they worship small furry creatures? Non. Ce n'est pas une bonne idée.
Mugg, can't you come up with some sort of escape plan? Surely your military training included something on how to dig your way out of a prison cell armed only with a plastic teaspoon.
Sadly not. Most of it involved making shoes and jacket buttons blindingly shiny, marching from point A to point B, and back again, or some pretty disgusting and downright indescribable initiation ceremonies.
So that's it. We're all doomed to die in this miserable migrant processing facility then.
It looks like it.
Well, if it's any comfort, this miserable migrant processing facility, as you described it, used to be the site of a very popular, upmarket galactic tourist resort. One of our guards gave me this old brochure to put under the table leg to stop our Catan board wobbling.
So, where are the bars and the Michelin star restaurant? Or the equivalents now?
I asked the guards the same question. They said that there was an economic downturn and the resort went down market. Lots of strip joints, illegal drinking dens and so forth. The Celsian government eventually stepped in and bought the site for this migrant processing centre. That was all about 30 years ago.
Do you mind if I have a look at the brochure?
Be my guest. You wouldn't be able to read a word of it, but the pictures are nice.
Oh, I say, that does look impressive. Azure seas, snow-capped mountains, beachside cafes, and architecture so beautiful it brings tears to the eyes. Gaudi, eat your heart out. I guess this little diagram shows the resort's galactic coordinates so that potential customers could find their way here.
Hello.
Who's she? Where did she come from?
I don't remember.
Sorry to interrupt here, but if you think the author has overused that joke, if you can even call it that, please write a letter of complaint to Stuffed Wombat Productions, care of Mugg Towers, Little Malvern on the Hill.
I wouldn't expect you to, ma'am. Queen Clement Ratariga, Princess Freckles, Patrice, please meet Flo. She's a time traveller. Flo rescued us once when my Tim machine broke down and Zung and I were trapped in the Middle Ages on Earth.
What? How? Why are you here?
Because you asked me to come here.
Excuse me, but I think I'd remember if I'd written a postcard to the effect, "Dear Flo, teenage time traveller extraordinaire, please come and say hello before we die in custody in this depressing migrant processing centre."
You didn't.
Well, that's a relief then. I didn't think my memory was that bad.
Your friend asked me to come.
Who? Me?
Yes.
I beg to differ.
Look, do you actually want to be rescued or shall I just go home?
No, please don't go.
Right, everyone hold hands in a circle. If this doesn't work, I might have to do 2 trips. Oh, and keep firm hold of that brochure. Good.
Crumbs, where are we?
You mean when are we?
Mamma, avert your eyes. Goodness, I don't think I've been anywhere this seedy since. Perhaps I shouldn't talk about that.
Welcome to Faliraki.
Fally-tacky, more like.
Are you sure? It doesn't look the slightest bit like Greece.
It's not. We're still on planet Celsi, but 30 years before the migrant processing centre was built. Remember, my time clothes allow me to travel through time, not space.
So we are still trapped here on this miserable planet?
No, we're here to meet your lift home. Oh, here he is now.
Oh my word. It can't be.
Hello, Timothy, dear boy.
Great Uncle Bartholomew. What on earth, Celsi, are you doing here?
Taking you all home, amongst other things. Follow me.
How can you take us home, old man?
In my space machine, of course. First stop Tutanonde Castle Vaults.
Wonderful. Mamma could give you all a guided tour.
If you don't mind, we'll pass on that. I'd just rather get home.
But if we've gone back 30 years, I won't even have been born.
You're forgetting I can take you forward again to a few seconds after you were displaced.
Genius! Zung, we're going home!
Right. Here's my space machine. All aboard. Ready?
Home sweet home. Would you like some tea, Flo?
Sorry, I can't stay long. I have homework to do.
But I still don't understand how you knew to come and rescue us.
Like I said, you asked me to. Look, here's my home address. Send me that brochure along with your great Uncle Bartholomew's address from 30 years ago. Obviously you have it somewhere or none of this would have happened. Remember to include an explanation of the convoluted rescue procedure with my time machine and his space machine. I'll then go back in time and find your great uncle so we can bootstrap the rescue procedure.
But you're the one who explained it all to us when you rescued us.
Oh, I see you're confused. I'm the future me, the one who received your letter a week from now. That's when I'm heading back to. You know, after I leave to rescue you.
Mugg, my head hurts.
Join the club, old boy. How can we ever repay you, Flo?
You already did.
Pardon? How?
You both left me some money in your wills. It wasn't much when you died, but when I converted it into gold and took it back to my past self, it was more than enough to buy all the equipment to develop my time clothes in the first place.
Right.
By the way, you might want to have a quiet word with Miss Lovelace about experimental safety.
Why?
Because it's one of her little projects that caused you to end up on planet Bogner in the first place. Professor Fregor had to help her fix the scroll deterrent device. I'll read the academic paper that came out of his work when I studied for my PhD in theoretical cosmology.
I think I'm going to have a little lie down.
Yes, I think I've lost track of causality, if not reality, myself now.
Well, I'll be off then. Don't forget to change your wills. Bye.
Bye. Oh, she's gone.
I wonder if we'll ever see her again.
Who knows? But I wouldn't bet against it, old boy.
Unwanted Visitors was written by Tim Reed and starred Richard Hall as the announcer, Dick Zung and Alien Bill. Tim Reed was Timothy Mugg, Alien Ben, and Great Uncle Bartholomew Mugg. Jill Barrington was Miss Lovelace. John Mountjoy was Jan Heuvel van Vreugde. Paddy Fowler was Patrice Volaille. Hazel Hall was Princess Freckles. Marianne Hall was Queen Clermont Ratariga. Cindy Reed was the Bognorian Border Guard. Freddie Gorton was Cyril the Squirrel. And Florence Smith was Flo. Sound effects were all safely disposed of, and it was a stuffed wombat production.